In order for me to live that life, I have to pour into myself. I have to make sure my cup is full. I have to make sure that I'm being my best, that I am getting my sleep, that I'm doing all these things to make sure that I operate at my best. Welcome to High on Self-Care. I'm your host, Stacey Zeal, yoga teacher, crystal lover, high-functioning stoner, and CEO of MaryZeal.com, a community for stoners who love cannabis and are looking to prioritize their self-care. On this podcast, we'll explore ways that meditation, mindfulness, yoga, and of course, all things weed can help you to elevate your self-care. We'll explore ways to truly value ourselves, use stillness for self-discovery, and cannabis to go higher on our journey. Think of me as your sister stoner who lovingly encourages you to prioritize yourself and reap the benefits of this magical plant. If you're ready to create a life that holds space for your most valuable asset, that's you, by the way, take a deep breath, light your J, and let's dive in. Hey peeps, welcome back to another episode of High on Self-Care. My name is Stacey Zeal and I'm your host. I'm super excited to talk to you about the 8 ways to fill your cup with cannabis. And before we jump into this episode, I hope that you enjoyed last week's episode. It was all about how to live an aligned life, how to make the best aligned decisions for your life. So make sure that you go back and listen to that episode if you missed it. Also, if you are in the market for some CBD products or looking for some recommendations, because there's so many places you can buy CBD now. That's popping up everywhere. They're at 7-Eleven, they're at CVS, they're everywhere. So if you're looking for some recommendations to some really quality products and you trust my opinion, head on over to MaryZeal.com/favorite things. I have all of the products that I've tried that I love, including some sleep gummies that I actually use, some CBD sleep gummies that I use at night to help me sleep throughout the night. So if you're interested in those types of things, if you're looking for some product recommendations, I definitely encourage you to head over to MaryZeal.com/favorite things and check out that list. So today's topic are 8 ways to fill your cup with cannabis. And so it's going to be a 2-part episode. We're going to go through the first 4 today, and then we're going to go through the next 4 next week. And so let's start with some context. What does it mean to fill your cup? And so there's this quote, I'm sure you've probably heard it. It's a quote that says, "You can't pour from an empty cup." And the quote, when I did my research, nobody knows who said it. But for me, I'll say that the first time I heard it and it really stuck was when I was in a yoga class. I was in a hot yoga class. I had a black male who was an instructor. And he said that in his class. And I don't know why that just stuck with me that day. Maybe that's what I needed to learn, to understand. But I really had to understand that I have to fill into myself in order for me to be my best. In order for me to be there for other people, in order for me to be there for myself, in order for me to make this vision come to life. That's what we're kind of talking about this month. It's aligned vision, an aligned life. In order for me to live that life, I have to pour into myself. I have to make sure my cup is full. I have to make sure that I'm being my best, that I am getting my sleep, that I'm doing all these things to make sure that I operate at my best. And so that I can show up for myself, right? So I'm not too tired, I'm not groggy, I'm not cranky, I'm not making decisions from a place of stress, or I'm not making decisions from a place of scarcity. Making abundant decisions, you have to be full, you have to pour into yourself in order to do that. And, so self-care really helps you it helps you to cope with stressors, right? So we had listened to episode 33 that was all about stress management. That was an amazing guest. She talked about stress, how to recognize it, and all that kind of stuff. And so self-care helps you to cope with those daily stressors. And how does cannabis help? So we know cannabis, it opens our mind. It helps you to manage stress and anxiety. And there's so many other benefits that, we can go into with cannabis. And so how that relates to self-care is it really helps you to ground into your self-care. It really helps you to, to approach your self-care and to approach some of these things with a clear mind, less stress, less anxiety. Okay? So keep that in mind. You can't live your best life empty. Right? And when my vision comes to life, I want to have the energy to live my best life. My energy needs to be replenished, right? So, I want the vision for you to come to life. That vision that you have in your head of how you want your life to be and how you want it to look. I want that to come true for you, right? But you have to be able to get there, right? You can't burn out before you get there, right? If you burn out before you get there, it's like you're going to have to recover from burnout. Then your life going to be put on hold, right? So self-care helps you to stay aligned with your vision. It helps you to ensure that you bring that vision to life without hitting burnout first. So let's go into the 8 ways. So way number 8. So number 8, start your day with a cannabis-infused morning routine. And so I have, my morning routine literally is foundational in starting my day. Like I always start my day with some weed, some yoga, some meditation, and to really like get myself right, right? So you have to start your day by pouring off into yourself first so that you are able to tackle the day, right? So because we know stress is going to come, right? We know things are going to be stressful. You might have a long day, whatever. You might not have a long day, right? You might have just, a really easy day. But we know that stress is going to come. So if we start our day by pouring to ourselves first, we can tackle the day in a better mood and less stress. And we make sure that we don't forget to prioritize ourselves. Raise your hand if I'm talking to you who always forgets, like, oh shoot, I meant to do my self-care after work, but I got wrapped up in the day, got wrapped up in this, the kids need that, people need this, got to do this, got to do that. You get to the end of the day and you're like, damn, I did nothing for myself. And then you look back at that life, and you look back at that last month and you're like, damn, this has been happening for a minute. I've been saying I'm going to do my self-care. I see all the memes, I see all the quotes, I see all the things saying I need to practice my self-care. But I just can't get it in. Start your day with it. That is my tip. Start your day with it. And there are some science-backed reasons for self-care, right? For a morning routine. Increase productivity, lower stress, it boosts your energy, and it helps you feel more in control of your day, right? So when you decide how you start your day, you don't just wake up and just see like, oh, what's going to happen today? You intentionally start your day a certain kind of way, so you start to feel like your feet are on the ground and you got this. And so a couple tips for awake and bake for morning, because I hear people saying like, but if I smoke weed, it's going to make me go to sleep. Yeah, I know it helps me to go to sleep too, but what you want to do is pick something that's going to get you up and moving versus lock you in bed. And so I'm not going to go super deep into how to pick strains because there's a whole episode on that, episode 31 of the podcast. Go back, listen to that episode, and that'll tell you all about how to pick strains that won't get you kind of like locked in bed. My second tip for awake and bake is to get out of bed before you bake. Okay. I know me personally, I will stay in bed for hours if I smoke weed in bed. So I kind of try to use, during the week at least, I try to use cannabis as a reward for kind of getting my day started. And then the third tip for waking and baking is to hydrate first. Okay. After your body's asleep for a while, it's dehydrated. Cannabis can also dehydrate you. So make sure that you drink some water first before you start to consume in whatever kind of way you're going to consume. And so because morning routines are super important, I have a blog post, a whole blog post. Actually, I don't really write too many blog posts these days, but I did write a blog post about this. So if you go to maryzeal.com/goodmorning, there's an episode there there's an article there about how to do morning routines and different tips and how to be a productive stoner in the morning. And then also you can download my morning routine checklist at maryzeal.com/free. There is this checklist is actually, I created this from how I set my morning routine. So super informative. So make sure you head over there and download that. All right. Number 7, awaken your chakras with some high yoga. As I mentioned in my morning routine, yoga is something, whether you do it in the morning or evening, it doesn't matter. But high yoga is part of my morning routine. It helps me to feel more grounded and present. And recently I was in a store. I was in one of those, cute little stores that you go to, and it's like a bunch of little tchotchkes and books and all kinds of different stuff. So it's real cute, and they had a whole cannabis section, y'all. So I was in there like, oh, this is lit. So I found this book. It's called High Yoga, Enhanced Yoga with Cannabis and CBD Treatments for Relaxation, Healing, and Bliss by Darren Zier. So they said in the book, cannabis acts like a spiritual ally, an inner truth serum that helps you tap into how you feel in this moment. And I love that quote. And I pulled that quote out because it's so great to as an illustration on how cannabis and yoga kind of work together, right? Like, it really just helps you to stay in the moment. It helps you to be honest with where you're at in this moment, because that's one of the things about yoga I think that people don't talk about as much. One of the things about yoga is accepting where you are in this moment, right? Like, you could literally go to class and, every day, and you could nail a, handstand every day, right? Nail it. You can nail your tree pose, your bird of paradise, whatever. You can nail it every day. Go. And then you have that one day you go to class and you don't nail it. You can't get into it. You can't balance. Any yogis out there have that feeling, right? Some days you go to class and you're like, my balance is just so off. I can't even lift my foot off the ground to get into my tree pose or anything. And so yoga teaches you that you have to accept how your body is in that moment. I can't force myself to balance. There are things I can do, right? I pull in my core, focus on something. There are things that will help you balance, right? But if my body is out of whack that day and she is saying, you know what? I'm not feeling this balancing thing today, I have to honor that, right? And so when I mix my weed with my yoga, it helps me to stay in that present moment. It helps me to realize, like, if I'm not feeling it today, then I'm not feeling it today. If I can't balance it, I'm like, oh, you know what? I tried balancing about 6 times and it's just not working for me. So I'm going to just prop my foot up as a little kickstand and hit this tree pose with my foot on the ground. Okay. And I mentioned the chakras, right? So the chakras are energy channels along your spine that correspond to certain things like feeling safe, or sexuality, or speech, or etc. And sometimes they get blocked. So you feel like, I can't speak up, right? Maybe your throat chakra is blocked if you're like, oh, I'm having a hard time really speaking up today. So there are things like yoga poses and different things that you can do to open those things and to help unblock those things, right? And so if you want to run down of the chakras, chakras are one of my favorite topics, but I had this episode 24 of the podcast, called How Black Girls Are Healing Our Magical Energy with Sound, Yoga, and Meditation. So go back and listen to that episode. That guest was amazing. And she gave a whole rundown of the chakras, right? She told you what each of them are, how to unblock them, different stuff like that. So really make sure you go listen to that episode. That episode was super, super dope. Okay, number 6 of the ways that you can use cannabis to fill your cup. Number 6, you can use it to make exercise more enjoyable. And so I'm not someone, let me say this, I'll start with this. I'm not someone who enjoys running. I'm not someone who enjoys exercise. But I understand that we got to exercise. We have to feed our bodies so that we can make our dreams come true. I heard a podcast episode about that. I believe it was the Sugar podcast with Tika Sumpter and her co-host. And the podcast, the guest was talking about how you need your body to operate in a certain kind of way so that you can make your dreams come true, right? So like just I was talking about how self-care helps you to bring that vision to life, right? How we treat our body, how we take care of our body, what we put in our body, right? And furthermore, how we exercise, right? How often we exercise, how we, get up and move, all that kind of stuff it affects how we bring our vision to life, right? So we want to make sure that we're exercising and taking care of our bodies. I'm not here to tell you how often to exercise, what to do, any of that kind of stuff, right? Just letting you know that cannabis makes exercise more enjoyable. So in the mornings, like I'm working on this, just trying to become a runner. I'm trying to run twice a week. And what I do is I get up, I smoke some weed. I have my breakfast and all that kind of stuff, right? But, I smoke some weed and then I go for a run. And it honestly makes it more enjoyable. I started listening to podcasts while I run. And so that's been kind of cool. So I was doing some research about exercise and cannabis, and this study by Angela Bryan at the University of Colorado Boulder. And her study has found that 70% of the respondents who use cannabis before working out said doing so made exercise more enjoyable. And in that same article, a 2003 study found elevated levels of the endocannabinoid molecule. I'm not even going to say the molecule in the blood of volunteers after they ran or cycled in a lab. Because cannabis targets the endocannabinoid receptors, the same ones, Brian speculates that the drug might allow users to jumpstart those pleasurable feelings. So essentially she's saying that there's this molecule in the endocannabinoid system that is present in people after they run. And so because cannabis interacts with those same endocannabinoid receptors, it essentially gives you that same kind of feel. So cannabis makes exercise more enjoyable. Make sure that you are safe and make sure you're paying attention to your dosing and all that kind of stuff. Make sure you're paying attention to what you're consuming, and all that kind of stuff. CBD also is great for recovery. So like if you have some aches and pains after you work out, stuff like that, make sure you're stretching as well. But like CBD, all these kinds of things, they just help, right? These are things that help make things more enjoyable, so that way we can fill our cups and we can be more abundant and be more present and be more focused on bringing our visions to life. All right. And so number five is create something beautiful. Y'all, I recently took a virtual painting class, and of course I was high. And it opened my mind and allowed me to really kind of create judgment free. Like when you're doing some painting, sometimes you're like, I'm not an artist. Let me give you that caveat. I do not know how to paint. I am not great at painting. I love a sip and paint or a puff and paint. I love a puff and paint, right? Because I'm not good, but I can watch somebody and try to figure something out. And so it really just kind of helps me to just be able to be in the moment, right? Just creating this and just letting my creative thoughts just flow. There's some specific terpenes that help to get the creativity flowing. So like limonene and linalool, those are things that help with creativity. If you don't know what terpenes are, definitely go back and listen to that episode I had about picking strains, episode 31, because that episode definitely goes to tell you what a terpene is and why they're super, super important. And so I did some research. And so THC is known to stimulate dopamine release in the brain, which partly involved in the creative process, according to an article on Ganjapreneur. And then another 2003 survey revealed that 50% of cannabis users believe cannabis heightens their creativity. So I think that I'm definitely in that group, because I do believe that cannabis really helps to heighten my creativity. And so that was our first 4, y'all. We're going to go into the next 4 in next week's episode. I gave you a lot to kind of chew on, so I really want you to kind of take these 4, think them over, figure out some ways that you can incorporate these things into your life to get started with filling your cup and to make sure that you are actively pouring into yourself every day. Yes, every day. I said every day, okay? And so let me recap the first 4 that we went through. So number 8, start your day with cannabis-infused morning routine, right? So like make sure you're getting your morning routine popping. Like the way that you start your day is super, super foundational in making sure that you are having a less stressed out day. It's really, really a great way to anchor in some gratitude to start your day, some self-care to start your day, and just really start your day in a more positive light. Number 7 was to awaken your chakras with high yoga. And so I mentioned I'm a yogi. I used to be a yoga teacher, so I love yoga. It's one of those things that I love to do. And I find myself doing it all the time. So like even when I'm not specifically on my mat and stuff like that, I find myself standing in tree pose and all that kind of stuff a lot. And so it's definitely something that just helps you to be more grounded. It helps you to drop into your body more. So if you're someone who feels kind of disconnected from your body, you don't really, feel like you know what's going on or anything like that, like really just drop into your body, start to practice yoga, and it'll help you to be more present. Number 6, makes exercise more enjoyable. So definitely, safely try to incorporate cannabis into your workout routine if you're looking to make it a little more enjoyable. If you're someone who's like, I don't particularly like running or working out or getting on my Peloton, but I know I have to keep myself in shape and to keep myself, going and to have energy throughout the day, or, to just really pay attention to your, to how you're treating your body. So exercise more enjoyable. And finally, number 5, use it to create something beautiful. Get out there, be creative, do something that you haven't done, like, knitting, painting, something that's just going to get your creative juices flowing and really help you to just think of something other than work or your side hustle or whatever it is that you're focused on, whatever you're trying to bring to life, right? Like taking a break from it is such a great way to, one, not grow to hate it, because I've had that happen before, where you're so focused on your side hustle that you just start to be burnt out and just annoyed at all that you're doing. And just finding a way to just, help you get fresh ideas and stuff like that. So those are the first 4. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast and tune in next week so that you can hear number 1 through 4. And we're going to talk about some really, really fun, good ones next week, including cannabis and sex, y'all. So you don't want to miss that episode. And if you, again, are looking for some awesome CBD products that you could want to incorporate into your routine, or some cannabis-related things that I just love, make sure you head over to maryzeal.com/favorite things to check out Mary Zeal's favorite things. Our list are things that we've actually tried here in-house and things that we actually use. So you're going to love it. I hope you loved this episode. I hope you took some nuggets, and I'll see you next week. Well, that's a wrap on another episode. Thanks so much for listening. If you got a nugget of information or inspiration from this episode, here are 5 ways you can support the podcast. You can buy me a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/high-on-self-care to send your token of appreciation. You can shop Mary Zeal's favorite things. This is a list of products that we love and have actually tried over at maryzeal.com, and some of these products contain affiliate links that give us a kickback when you shop their site at no cost to you. You can leave us a review on your podcast app of choice. If you are listening on the web, be sure to subscribe and leave us a review on the podcast app of choice. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, all the places. 4th, you can share the podcast with 3 friends that you think will benefit from all the nuggets that we drop. And lastly, you can join my email list to get episodes sent to you weekly and learn about all the fun new things we have coming up on maryzeal.com and the podcast. All the links are in the description. And I will catch you on the next episode.